What's up everybody and welcome to another edition of AGR's Pop Culture Reviews. Is it possible to fall in love with a statue? I don't know, maybe it's just me or I've just been reviewing these statues back to back for so long. And don't worry, I'm gonna go back to the movie and show reviews and everything else pop culture, but today we're gonna be taking a look at the premium format Power Girl. So Power Girl actually has a very interesting origin story, and it dates back to 1958 in Superman issue number 125. As the story goes, Lois Lane has a dream where she's a superpowered being named Power Girl. Now, I'm not quite sure if this is canon or just an alternate universe that sometimes comics do, but according to the issue, she's constantly coming to the aid of a bumbling Clark Kent, and in this world his name is Power Man. I have to say, for 1958 standards, that's actually pretty ballsy to put in a comic book, even if it's in an alternate universe. That reversal of sexual roles? Pretty impressive. Now, I'm sure you comic book experts out there know a lot more about this subject than I do, but for now, I thought it was just an interesting story or take on the character. So let's take a closer look. Guys, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I didn't think I was ever going to review this statue, as it wasn't one of my favorite characters. But you know what? Sometimes when you get something in hand and you see how wonderful it is, then it kind of changes things a little bit. And actually, ever since I got this piece, it's prompted me to do a little more research on this character. And you know what? She's pretty cool. First of all, I have to say that hands down, this is one of the best head sculpts that I've seen. It's very beautiful, and she looks like a freaking model, for God's sakes. The eyes are done just right. Again, there's no cockeye. I love the brows, and definitely the makeup around her eyes. And her lips are very realistic looking. It's a great sculpt. I love it. I also like the expression on her face, makes her look very confident. Guys, I'm not trying to be sexist or anything, but I'm just keeping it real. Obviously, this is one of the things about the statue that actually draws your eyes in. And you know what? It's just part of the way that the character is drawn. And I have to say, it looks really freaking good in 3 dimensions, for obvious reasons. But aside from that, the shading is done really well, the costume and the textures look really great, and the flesh tones overall is really impressive. I especially like the definition in her arms, particularly where the deltoid meets the bicep. The shading was done really well and it really makes it pop. Now here's one of the things that I really love about this statue, and it's definitely in the way they employed the mixed media. If you'll see here, this is actually a string that goes around the entire statue. Now the great thing about this is that it has some elasticity, so that you can pull it around and underneath her armpit and pin it into her actual chest area. It's really freaking awesome the way they did it, and it just adds another dimension to the statue. Now let's take a look at the reverse side of this piece. The cape is actually really freaking cool. I love the color and definitely in the folds that it has in the actual cape. Now here's the thing, it's not as malleable as other pieces that I've seen, but that's completely fine. This piece is not meant for the cape to flow all over the place. It's more of like ceremonial regalia, and I really like the way they pulled this off. It's nice that it stays pretty stiff, and it looks like it's ironed a little bit, but overall really great. Now, one of the other great things about this statue is definitely in her belt, and this is another great example of the mixed media here. As you can see, the belt itself is actually made out of leather and it's been stained red, which looks really great. And really complementing it is the gold buckle in the middle, and it's offset against that white costume, and it really looks fantastic. And if that wasn't good enough, the contrast between the overall flesh tones look really great here. It's very impressive. One of the aspects of this piece that I found that they really nailed was definitely in the color palette. Now here, for example, in her gloves, it looks fantastic. I like that they went with this cobalt blue, mostly because it really shows the expert sculpting here, especially in the folds and definitely in the creases near her hands. I mean, it's just a really impressive sculpt, and that color really makes it come out. Now Power Girl's legs are absolutely phenomenal, one of the best sculpts that I've seen in a long time, and the reason that they look great is because they nailed the musculature, particularly in her quad muscles and the little details in her knees. The flesh tones obviously were done really well, and it really complements the statue a lot. I mean, I'm really not giving it enough credit because it looks fantastic. I mean, just look at those knees. I haven't seen a sculpt like that. Actually, that's the first time I've ever seen a sculpt with that much detail. Similar to her gloves, they also went with the same color palette for her boots, Now the folds and creases here are just absolutely incredible. I really love what they did here, especially at the bottom where they kind of dirtied up the boots a little bit. I mean, this is just very, very impressive. And the other thing about it is that they actually coated it in a dull finish, so it makes it look more like it's leather, and that's a really nice effect to have. Now guys, you know how I am about bases, I say it all the time, and this is a pretty large base relative to the figure, but you know what? It's so freaking impressive. The effect of her like having just slammed down on a piece of concrete, and if you'll notice, it actually has the little foot imprints of where she just landed. And it looks like a lot of crumbled stone in there. Really, really nice effect. I really like this base, and even though it looks like it's big, it really isn't, because it's actually going upward. Now the rim of the base is actually pretty cool. I love that it looks very Kryptonian. Now the only thing that I really didn't like about it is that it didn't have her name, or it didn't have a plaque or anything, but I'll get over that, no big deal. Now the bottom of the base is pretty bombastic as far as style goes. It really smacks you in the face. It does read premium format from Sideshow Collectibles. It says her name, Power Girl, with a big P and a star, and it does have the number of your piece. Fortunately, I got 648 of 2500, which is pretty cool. In addition to that, you get the DC logo and the Superman S logo. Overall guys, this is actually a pretty impressive piece, and even though Power Girl is not one of my favorite DC characters, she's actually starting to grow on me. So just so you guys have the complete picture, there is a Sideshow exclusive that comes with a different head sculpt, and it's more representative of what you see on the original packaging. So if you're interested, that version is probably still available at Sideshow Collectibles. I'm not exactly sure if I can categorize this as an instant holy grail piece, but I think people will appreciate this statue more and more over time. So, you know, now that it's relatively easy to get, might be a good time to invest in it. Now before I go, I gotta thank the wonderful folks over at Sideshow Collectibles for sending this wonderful piece over for review. Alright guys, so that's my official review on the premium format Power Girl statue. As always, I thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next AGR's Pop Culture Reviews.